Hey, what is up everybody? Blaze for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're actually going to be doing the guild boss. Now, the guild boss here is going to be specifically for Haru here. If you do got the team, you're going to love it. The team here that we're going to be utilizing, of course, is the S-Moko with Cord team and having Futaba as your navigator. And then you want to make sure you have these certain personas being at least Neko Shogun, Shiva, and Jikokuten. For specific type deals, you really don't need anything changed on Neko Shogun or Shiva, but you will need at least 2 moves changed on Jikokuten here, or at least have these moves here. And that is the basic buff, which is a single target buff, which is really good that you need to have. And then the other one, you would definitely want to get the Rebellion buff. Now, Rebellion can be obtained from the persona named Dakini, and that is going to be, let me make sure I actually pull them up here, which would be this persona here. So if you want this Rebellion buff, be sure to go ahead and go get things to farm up for Dakini and try to inherit the skill, because it's going to be very much so necessary. Now, we are going to be utilizing this whole like kind of strat from the buddy as usual that usually helps me out with some of these, and he said it does pretty darn well, so we're going to test it out ourselves and actually give it a crack. The only difference here is we don't have the right speed set pretty much for this, and that it's supposed to be technically S-Moko first, Cord then Haru, or at least Cord Wonder then Haru. And my behind actually has my things going Cord, S-Moko, Wonder, Haru, so it's gonna be an interesting thing to kind of go around. We might have to change some things, but we're gonna see exactly how this does work for us. So all in all, let's go ahead and get to the match. We're gonna actually explain this thoroughly for each round here, and I'm going to kind of change some things around. Hopefully it doesn't change up the score too much, and then I'll let you guys know, of course, how everything really would be going. It probably near the end. I'll just tell it like that, because I'm not gonna lie, after I noticed that my speed gauge was kind of wonky, it made things a little bit harder to figure out. But no matter what, first things first, we're gonna pop off our highlight with Cord, make sure that gets off pretty early here, and immediately use Cord's second skill on Haru. Now, this is kind of where things are already out of place, because technically we should be having Haru kind of, or at least Cord later on a little bit, but all in all, it doesn't matter. We're gonna go ahead and buff our Haru here, making sure she gets that attack and EHR type percentage. And then we're going to go ahead and swap over to the man Jikokuten to make sure we get the Rebellion buff on Haru as well. This is allowing us to really set up this first round and get a decent bit of damage off. And that's just basically going to be just for the first skill. If you technically have A1, you don't have to do the first skill off rip. You could very well swap it up, but we're gonna, since we don't have A1, we're gonna just go ahead and keep doing our A1 first, make sure we get that sight there. And then for the next round, we'll be able to actually pull off the third skill. Now, for this second turn here, technically it's supposed to be S-Moko using her third skill, then Haru using her highlight. But we're actually going to change this around, mainly just because we would have to mess up our actual highlight gauges. If we don't use our highlight early, then it's not going to come back in certain times that we need to come back. And so we're going to kind of go a little bit different with this, which could most likely result in a lower score, but all in all, it should still be pretty darn decent. So first things first, go ahead and pop the ult off right now, making sure we have this. And then instead of actually popping this, we're going to actually use this on our third round. So we're just going to go ahead and use a basic little first skill with Cord, making sure she can get some just decent damage off, of course, or like something decent out of here. And then we're gonna pop off the skill 3, allowing us to get more damage off later for that damage increase, which is what we really need. And then afterwards, since it's now the second turn, we're going to use Jikokuten's first skill. Now this first skill is a single target buff, or at least a I think it was actually this one. Here it is. This is the second skill that we had here. This second skill is the single target buff, and this is really going to help her out no matter what when it comes down to the attack percentage side of things, because it is primarily boosting that. So now that it is actual Haru's turn, instead of using her gun, we're actually going to focus on using the skill 3, which should get us a decent bit of damage here. So looking at that, we got 416k, which is not bad. Of course, with the follow-up damage, we got 473k, which is actually pretty darn decent as well. And I feel like we're on a good track. So now this is where the big damage is about to come into play, because now we have to use Haru's gun to deal a ton of damage, and also her ultimate to actually deal a ton of damage here. So first things first, Futaba is going to use her skill 3. This is going to help us out because now we can actually put this on Haru immediately, giving Haru a major buff, of course. And this is also going to help us out with actually taking down their weaknesses here. So now we're going to go ahead and use the skill 3 with our cord, making sure we can pop off this ultimate, deal a ton of damage to all of the team here. And this should, yeah, look at that, 600k immediately, which is just freaking marvelous. And that was actually without, I think, our little buff there too, because I'm pretty sure it wore off. So do keep in mind, if you did have the actual setup to look perfectly here, you would be able to do this even better than normal. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and swap over to Shiva. Do not use any moves just yet. Pop off the highlight first here. And once we pop off the highlight, we're going to immediately then use Shiva's skill 1. Now, Shiva's skill 1 is not anything you need to change. It's perfectly just normal. Get that decent damage off here, which helps us out because I think we're also taking down their defense as well with that. And then we go ahead and use the gun and get the big boy damage. So let's see how much we get. 600k, almost 700k from that. And actually, no, 745k, which is absolutely amazing here. We're already looking at a good 3 mil, which is pretty decent, especially seeing our kind of turn order is out of, like, of course, out of order. This is really good so far, and we're only on the 3rd round. So we're gonna go ahead and go into the next round here with this one. It's the 4th one, so we immediately want to go ahead and rebuff our Haru. We're getting pretty much that whole cycle back into action, and that's what we really want to focus on. Once again, we're going to use the skill 3, making sure everything goes good for the damage increase that we do need here. Then we want to go back to our man Jikokuten, using Rebellion, setting up this whole buff little kind of rotation, and then using Haru's skill 1 to set up the sights as well. This gave us a good 326k. If you guys want to kind of use this as like a marker of how damage should be, this is what you want to go ahead and look at. Now, for anyone also noticing, none of my characters are duped. So Smoko has no dupes, Cord has no dupes, Haru has no dupes. So you don't got to worry about if you just don't have dupes in that order. You just really will need these characters and have their actual what's it called, their weaponry. Other than that, you're pretty much good. But all in all, let's use the skill 1 on Futaba, taking down the defense once again. And then this time with our highlight, we're going to use Jikokuten actual highlight here. So instead of waiting, luckily we actually had it on the right percentage of people, or at least the right persona here. We're going to use this off rip, and then we're going to use, since this is the 4th turn, if I'm correct, I think this is the 4th turn. It's either the 4th or 5th. I think it's the 5th actually, yeah. Now we're going to go ahead and actually use Cord's first skill once again, because we don't want to pop off Cord's highlight this round. We want to pop it off at least the next one, or at least our skill 3 the next round here. This allows us to do our 2nd skill once again on Haru, making sure she's good, healed up, getting all those buffs, which is always what we love. Then we're going to swap over to Neko Shogun. Reason why we swapped the Neko Shogun is because his actual first buff is really helpful for just in general anything when it comes down to damage bonus. So this is a huge buff. It's mainly primarily only for damage buff, and this is what you really want to have. Since we're going to go ahead and utilize this, we're using our skill 3. This should give us a decent bit of damage. I'm saying 400k or more. Yep, of course. 400 plus k, which is already decent, and that is 529k once we got the actual follow-up, keeping everybody pretty healed, and that's really good for us. Now, one of the few things that you will have to worry about, and I think my Moko actually might be a little low on SP, is the SP gauge. Unlike most Mokos or most people, I actually don't have a lot of SP on my character, so I might not have this last final turn down, but you usually want to use the S3 with Moko here. But first things first, we're going to go ahead and use the skill 3 with Futaba, making sure they get that weakness down once again, make sure it's buffing our Haru. And then for this, we're going to go ahead and use the skill 3, getting off our highlight for Haru as well. And this gets us up to, let's see how much we're at. We're at a whopping 6 mil, which is pretty decent. And actually we did have enough for our Moko, which is really good. This allows us to use our skill 3, once again buffing that damage increase again. And then we're going to swap over to Shiva. And I could actually highlight here, but I'm going to wait. This is our final turn anyway, so we're just going to wait it out. Let's swap over to Shiva, use the skill 1, making sure we take down that defense, getting ready for the big boy damage. And then we get to get the big boy damage here. First things first, Haru highlight. That's going to be your main deal. Haru highlight is going to set you up for some decent damage here. And then we can do the big boy gun after, which is almost 700k just from that highlight. So really good there. See if we can get something decent here. 700k just from the gun, and that gave us a decent 10 mil. This got us a whopping 43 mil in one go, which is actually insane. 43 mil based on that one go is actually freaking awesome. And I gotta say, this method is actually amazing. I think he said he had more than this and it was just in the right turn order. So if we had the right turn order in general, this could have been even higher. So if you guys are going to be trying this out, be sure to let me know down below in the comments if you actually want to give it a shot and actually see how it does for you. But all in all, that's really darn good. I'm happy with it, and I hope you guys actually enjoyed as well. Peace out.